Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the infamous Paul Cottrell, newly demonetized YouTube member of the family of demonetized channels. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Diamond. Appreciate it.
No problem. Well, the reason we have you on the show is to share with the people some developments on your channel, and it probably has something to do with the new connections you're making. We'll get to that at the end of the show, so stick with us. We're going to talk about an exclusive interview that Paul has coming up shortly. But first, we want to tell people, and it was hard to find your other channel. We just vetted that, Paul. We want people to come over and subscribe to Dr. Paul's secondary channel here. He just needs about 35,000 more views to get monetized there. And he's been demonetized over at his main channel. So if you subscribe over at Paul Cottrell, we're asking you all to go over to Paul's backup channel, Dr. Paul Cottrell, and subscribe there and maybe watch some of the content. Anything else you want to add, Paul?
Well, I'm going to be, I'm going to be uploading on both channels, but I have a strong sense. That I'm going to be, my primary channel will go down. So if people want to see my content, it's going to be on that secondary channel. And again, it is Dr. Paul Cottrell. And you can get to the links on all of my videos. The backup channel link is right under each of the videos. And that would be a great help.
Yeah,
that would be a great help.
We'll have these links below the video, and I'll also put them in the first comment, and I'll pin that so that everyone will be able to find the new channel.
Right.
Now, tell our listeners when you got demonetized and what the YouTube message was on why they were demonetizing all of your videos. If you're listening, every single one, his whole channel got taken down as far as ad revenue. And what did they say?
Right. Okay, so it happened about 5.5 hours ago, and I was doing a premiere, and that premiere was a show that I did with Michael Deacon, and Michael Deacon was he had myself, the host Michael Deacon, Mike Hideous, and Jeffrey Prather. Jeffrey Prather is a military guy, but he's been targeted also for some of the inflammatory things that he's been saying about the deep state and what's been going on. So I was premiering that. Then people were saying, "Oh, I don't see the $sign for the super chat anymore." And I'm like going, I see it on my screen. I don't understand. And so a bunch of people were saying it. And I recycled my video page while it was premiering. And then I noticed that I didn't have the $sign either.
Hello.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's weird. So I went to the studio in the background, and I see the message saying your channel is no longer monetized. And so you click the, look at the more details of why, and it says that my content is considered inappropriate for the users of YouTube and considered harmful content, and that's it. And that I don't meet quote user guidelines for monetization. Now I find it odd because the last few videos I've been promoting my interview with Mikovitz. That's going to be happening tomorrow. And I had a really good interview. I was interviewed by Dr. Alan Keyes, who, for people that don't know, he has a show called I Am TV. And he has a YouTube channel. He's on Roku and some other channels.
This is the Alan Keyes.
And he ran for president.
Yeah. So let's make that clear.
Yes.
This is the Alan Keyes that ran for president,
Yes.
has his own YouTube channel. You've been doing some videos, and I'm sure that's raising some eyebrows.
Yeah. And, all of a sudden, I started seeing problems with my subscribers. My subscribers would say, well, you know what? I'm no longer getting updates from you, Paul. My bell isn't on anymore, or, whatever. And I was doing, and I give credit every time I'm on, I always give credit to Rex and to you, Diamond, for helping me out at the very beginning. Because if it wasn't for you two, I would not be where I'm at. And and I was
Demonetized.
averaging. Some days I was averaging, right. But I was averaging, either a couple thousand a day, or or near the end, I was averaging about 400 a day in new subscribers. And then what's been happening is I've been slowly losing subscribers. It's like a slow bleed, like 20, 30 a day. So it's really odd where I think they're just unclicking or unsubscribing the ones that want to subscribe. And I'm getting to more and more channels like Mike Adams, on Brighteon. I'm doing, the Alan Key show. I'm doing all these other shows to try to promote the message. And as I'm doing that, YouTube is shadowing me more and more. And then I've been considered inappropriate content also in fake news by Facebook, which is ridiculous. But but
Yep, we're all wrong. Everything we've ever said from the beginning has come true, but we're dangerous because we're giving the facts to the public, and that's not what they're giving the public. They're giving the public propaganda, and we are not towing the line. Now, I want to just say thank you for shouting us out. I didn't know you were doing that, and I appreciate that. Sure, Rex does as well. But similar things have happened to Rex and my channel, but it didn't happen now. It happened maybe 6 or 8 months ago. There was a period of time when Rex was he was gaining 1,000 a week and losing 1,000 a week at the same time. And it was just staying as a flat line. On my channel, we were actually just going down. We lost about 6,000 subscribers over a period of 2 months. It was just negative. I'm like, people aren't just unsubscribing every day all of a sudden. But YouTube claimed that they were removing fake accounts from my subscriber list. So it's like, how could you even fight that? It's just an excuse for some algorithm they're putting on the channel. At the same time, I wasn't getting, and right now we're in a view crunch. I used to average 8,000 to 12,000 views in 24 hours from a video I put up, 8,000 to 12,000 in 24. And now I'm only getting 4,000 to 6,000, exactly half. And I put up the same amount of content. It's not because my subscribers aren't watching. They're all home and off work, for goodness sakes. So something else is afoot, certainly.
Right.
And that whole, the whole phenomenon of
you've been
what
in this,
you said of the no bell click and no notifications, that's the norm for our channel. Not a single one of our subscribers is notified about a premiere or anything I put up. They got to go look.
What was interesting, it's like just a couple weeks ago, my mods, they don't know that I'm premiering. So I have to almost like send a little APB on a text message on my phone saying, hey, I'm premiering. Can you help mod?
That's not how it's supposed to work.
It's crazy.
It's not how it's supposed to work.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk about some more fake news that we're going to be providing the public tonight. This is an actual letter sent out from the Department of Social Services that went out to some people in California, people that are on.
Are you going to try to? I can't. Wait, Diamond, I can't see you.
Okay,
I don't know if that's on purpose or if you're going to show the.
I'm just getting more bandwidth. You can look at me. I have the letter up here. So do you want me to read it in whole?
Oh, okay.
I'll read it. So here's the letter, and it's dated May 6th. So this is pretty recent. This is a week ago. As a participant in state assistance benefits, including Cash Aid, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal, in accordance with the state of California emergency order blippity bloppity blue, you get everyone must be tested for COVID-19 in order to continue to receive their benefits. And this is where it gets completely unconstitutional and insane. Failure to obtain a test by June 1st will cancel your benefits. So they're literally going to starve you out of your house until you take one of their government mandated tests. Now, if you test positive for COVID-19 and you're under assistance and you have children, according to the state of California Welfare and Institution Code, human service agencies of Merced County may deem it necessary to remove all children under the age of 18 from your home and put them in foster care while you recover. This is disgusting. This is not the United States. This is an overreach of power. And then it says, please feel free to contact your caseworker to stick your foot right up there if you have any questions regarding the fact that we're going to take your children away from you if you get the flu. For God's sake, what is going on, Paul?
It's just tyranny, man. I mean, we were talking about this a long time ago, that there was going to be overreach by the government and that we needed to all stand together and start reaching out to our representatives and saying that we were concerned about these BioPatriot Act type policies. This is one of them, where where one of it is you have to toe the line. You have to do what the government's saying, or you're not going to get your benefit. This is just one door closer to forced vaccines.
It is, but it's beyond that.
Because what they're going to say is that
it's beyond that, Paul, because this is not simply to mandate that you get tested. This is also to take children out of your home. When did we ever separate parents? We're called a family unit. We're allowed to stay with our family unit. If we get infected, the family gets infected. That's what we're, a family unit. And then we all quarantine together. So what is this ripping children out of homes? How is that going to help the problem? They're going to go into a foster care home. Are the foster care people tested? How do they know what the foster care is going to expose the kids to COVID-19? This is a complete farce. Mark Ghali, MD, MPH, Secretary of Health and Human Services Agency, should receive thousands of letters from irate citizens telling him to go himself, in my opinion.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you. Now the question is are there going to be enough upset mothers out there that are going to start the protest? And I'm hoping that they will. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, what do you think about what's going on with all the protesting?
Well, I support it because
I've been hearing that there's going to be protest.
Protest where?
Well, I mean, you know, what's going on in Michigan, what was going on. I've been hearing that there's going to be some protests in Arizona, that there are people that are starting to organize to start protesting for the holiday that's coming up.
Yeah,
Memorial Day,
they
Labor
just
Day.
locked down LA until mid-July. I mean, that's where all riots begin.
That's crazy.
Is this like on purpose? Are they? They're purposely trying to get us to riot so they can institute martial law, institute these forced vaccinations and the ID cards, because we're all bad humans and we don't know how to comply. That's basically how I see them working this. And at the same time, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of well-known, high-credentialed physicians now coming out against all of this nonsense. We just mirrored an interview today with a Professor Cahill from Ireland today that's completely eye-opening, because she has decades of experience in immunological research, and her expertise is loud and clear in the interview. She knows about everything, and the most important thing she knows is that these numbers that they're using to scare us are wrong. And another thing that Leah and I uncovered in the last 48 hours was the CDC numbers they've been using for flu deaths are also completely fabricated. That 32,000 annual deaths, only 18 in 2012 of the 32,000 reported deaths were actually positive for the flu. And this is on flu deaths. 18 out of 32,000 positive for flu, 31,650 positive for pneumonia. Yet they all go on the flu death list. Sounds very similar to the COVID death list, in my opinion. Plus, the amount of natural deaths in areas where hospitals are shut down have spiked. There are actually more natural deaths at home, twice as many as ever before. And if you count all the natural deaths because of this shutdown, it is more deaths than COVID-19 because no one can get standard heart procedures in the hospital or their cancer treatments or whatever the standard procedure was for the last several months. And tens of thousands of people have died because of that. Not a single mainstream outlet is reporting on that fact or the fact that any immunological scientist would be pressing the fact that humans need to be taking vitamin D3, vitamin C, and zinc, even vitamin E, to help boost their immune system to completely prevent any reaction to COVID-19. If your immunity is high, this virus will enter your body and be kicked out in a second. You'll probably have some type of antibody immunity, but none of the mainstream channels are promoting to get your immunity in check. They're promoting vaccines and to stay away from people and to get sicker. Wear a mask. Breathe your own CO2. Do it now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I just, I've been, talking to people behind the scenes and this idea that, we have to do some sort of protesting. It's almost like, where is that Boston Tea Party moment? Where is that moment where we say enough is enough and that this what they're trying to institute will no longer stand?
Well, they're claiming they're going to take children away from mothers if they simply have a sickness. And that's never happened before. This is completely insane overreach by government. It's completely unconstitutional. And I don't know how the American people will deal with this. And certainly the mainstream is not putting a headline on the New York Times that says that California is going to take your kids if you test positive for COVID-19. And guess who they're doing it to? They're doing it to the most fragile portion of the population, people on social welfare for fuck's sake. I mean, it's disgusting. They're taking the poor people and they're setting an example. You're sick. We're taking your kids. This is all your fault, lady. It's disgusting.
It is. And, in what it seems to be happening in New York is that there's a higher propensity of individuals that are, lower on the income scale getting actually sick. So you're right. They're targeting the lower income. But today, everyone is now, laid off. Unless you have your own business or you're already retired or whatever. But many people have been furloughed, hours cut, or been completely laid off. So everyone has a story that's going on here that is somehow tied to some sort of assistance or subsidy through the government. And it's going to get worse before it gets better because, like you said, there's certain areas of the country that are not going to get out of shelter in place until July.
Yeah, and
we just got to reboot the country, or we're going to lose another $4 trillion.
We're going to lose 100,000 people to malnourishment, starvation, and other simple ailments that they should have never had before this shutdown. The amount of people that have gone hungry, that are malnourished. Before the shutdown here, in just a general day in my town, in Pagosa Springs, 68% of the population of just under 3,000 here are in poverty. They do not have the adequate food or nutrition on a daily basis. And now they can't work. So how that could be 3/4 of the population where I live, which is why I dedicated my entire crop to give away free to town. So I'm going to be doing free CSAs to the poorest people. We're going to be setting up a stand probably in June and July to give out food for free. And I guarantee I'm going to get pushback from the town, from the police, and whoever else does it. And they could push all they want. But I'm going to do it as legitimately and legally as possible. I'm going to call all the necessary people because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I want to feed hungry people to make them better. Food is the solution to health.
Right.
And most people can't even afford it. And now everyone's out of work. They're now living 3 weeks on a $1,200 check. And they're talking about, quote unquote, maybe giving another a payment here, $1,600 check potentially to every citizen. But those are only people that paid taxes the last 2 years. There is a large portion of the population that doesn't pay taxes because they don't even meet the tax threshold. These are the people on welfare. So they're literally double, triple, and quadruple targeting the hardest hit people because you can't even get your payment if you didn't pay taxes. But you didn't pay taxes because you didn't make enough money. So it's like, it's totally insane.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. What's your take about what was going on with killing off the herds because they couldn't process the meat for cattle, pigs, and chickens?
Well, this is the most disgusting portion of American culture. And where we get most of our food is from feedlots. So these big ag ranchers that supply the majority of meat, they're paying exorbitant amounts to feed these animals. If they can't process within the 7-day window, then they're literally hemorrhaging money. So the best thing they can do is shoot everything. It's really hard to give away a whole animal, especially if you're not going to process it. If the processing plants are closed, there's no way to get this to market, then you have no alternative except to slaughter your animals and to plow them under. Now, there are other alternatives, but most ranchers have insurance. So they do not want to give their animals away for free. The only way they get the insurance is if they have to kill their animals and bury them in a hole. It's the same with the crops. The only way your crop insurance comes to fruition, you get paid by the government, is if you destroy those crops. If you give them away, then they're no longer covered under crop insurance. So it's almost the policy is creating these farmers to do, causing them to do it so that they have coverage under insurance. Like you better, if you have to cull your whole flock in order for us to pay you. And luckily, Donald Trump has offered to buy up to $3 billion worth of this cattle and use it for food banks and charity. But that's just a small fraction of it. Let's say it's 5% of all the animals that have to be slaughtered because there's no place to take them, to process them, and to get them to market. So that's my take on that.
How many billions of dollars are we talking here being lost?
Well, there's probably 3 billion to 4 billion head of cattle in the U.S. Let's say a quarter are culled. A billion head of cattle is 2,000. That's $2 trillion. And if they're just buying 3 billion of it, I mean, that's like less than 1%. So it's a huge amount of food. It's not going to cause the world to starve because they're going to start production on more cattle. You know, they're going to raise another herd. So I think a lot of this is,
I mean,
it's theatrical.
Before the meat can hit the market,
I mean, there are hundreds of local producers that sell meat locally here. They're not killing their cattle. They're processing them locally at small processors, processing it themselves, and they're getting a premium on the meat. I mean, I went in the store.
Well, let me give you an anecdotal thing going on for me. Okay, so I buy my meat through ButcherBox. Okay, ButcherBox is a company that it's like a subscription based, where I buy a box, it gets delivered every other month, and I have beef and chicken that's delivered, but I don't know what it is. You know, if it's going to be chicken legs, you know, what's the composition? But it's a 50-50 box, okay? ButcherBox sent me an email saying because of what's been going on, that they are having food shortages. Now, it's an organic, certified kind of subscription model. So, and they're based in Massachusetts. So I'm very curious to see my next order, which is supposed to be delivered on the 21st. What's going to happen? If they're going to be able to fill the whole order, or if, what's the variety? If I'll see any difference, I don't know. But they did email saying that they were having problems with their supply chain.
Yeah, it could be all venison and rabbit.
maybe, but that wasn't on the menu.
Well, let's talk about your upcoming interview with Dr. Judy Mikovitz. She's gotten some really bad press. Here I'm showing a Rolling Stone article from from yesterday. Judy Mikovitz, disgraced doctor at the center of the plandemic, has a best-selling book on Amazon. Yeah, her best-selling book is called The Plague of Corruption, and it pretty much lays out the corrupt nature of the CDC and the vaccine agenda, similar to some of the work I did with Monsanto and the corporate control of your food supply. It's the same thing, and to believe that this is fake is, I mean, you have to be an idiot to believe that Judy Mikovitz is lying to the public. She has no reason to lie to the public.
Right. You know, what I find very fascinating about her story is that, you know, she was prosecuted and put in jail. I don't know for how long though, for trying to sound the alarm on what was going on at the CDC. And she worked with Fauci for a long time, for many years.
According to her,
and
Fauci stole the original work that she was working on. She was only a lab tech at the time,
right.
And her superior had gone on a trip to Europe, and that weekend, Fauci stole the work. He demanded she give it to him, and she's not the superior. She's just like a lab tech, and she's like, I can't do that. And he took it anyway, and then all this happened, basically. And so that was the beginning of her uncovering what was actually going on. And I'm from academia. Professors steal the work of their students all the time. They don't do any of the field work.
Oh, yeah.
We do all the work. They put their name first. I mean, this is just the way it works. But according to Mikovitz, what happened was a law had changed around the time she became a lab tech. And corporations and government entities became able to patent their findings. So they could actually patent the drugs or the vaccines they were working on, and they could benefit through government taxpayer dollars. Government workers in those labs could patent the drugs and become millionaires. And that's why they were stealing the work. I wonder how much Fauci has in the bank. We need to do an investigation on that prick. By the way, have you ever seen Dr. Fauci wear a mask? I've never seen him with a mask on, ever.
Nope. Never. You know, and not only that, there was some connection, I thought, with Mikovitz working with Gallo, and I thought she was working under Gallo, and he was the one that stole the HIV isolate from the French scientist, and somehow Gallo was tied with Fauci.
Yeah, well, I thought that Mikovitz had gone to Europe to work on that HIV.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, that's what I thought. But
somehow she's tied to Gallo, and Gallo was the one that stole the HIV isolate from the original one that discovered it. That was from France.
This should really get the listeners pissed off. During the whole HIV outbreak, when they were working on AIDS, and Fauci really got his foot into the position he's in, that's where he really made his stand with the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Right. They were actually, just like hydroxychloroquine, preventing the public from getting antiviral drugs that were helping with HIV/AIDS. They actually blocked the production and the manufacture of several antiviral drugs, which to this day are still unavailable. These were drugs that the CDC had listed as essential medications for the world. And right at the beginning of the epidemic, they prevented the gay population that were dying in record numbers from HIV/AIDS from having access to these cheap antivirals on purpose so that they could push for a vaccine, which they never found. And guess what's happening today? People are staying alive their entire life using some antiviral protocol. The exact thing that they prevented, so the CDC caused tens of thousands of HIV/AIDS patients to die because they prevented them from, quote unquote, getting the 10-cent hydroxychloroquine, so to speak. It's the same thing. It's like a broken record.
Right.
These people are frauds. They're pushing a fraud. They want to, and this one is the biggest. Can you imagine if they mandate that 7+ billion people get a vaccine? Whoa, that's a payday. Every year a payday. Bigger than the flu.
That's right. That's right. You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars worth of revenue. Hundreds of billions annually. I mean, and my concern is that this is going to cause a lot of, neurological problems. I'm willing to bet that there's going to be huge percentages of individuals starting to get peripheral nervous system or central nervous system disorders
as a result
from these vaccines.
As a result of the adjuvants in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that, and they create an antibody that actually starts attacking the myelin sheath on the axon. See, what happens is it's not just the adjuvants that are in it that are causing harm, but it's also creating an antibody that is creating an autoimmune system disorder. And a lot of people are starting to have these PNS syndromes because of the antibody that the vaccine is telling the body to create.
Yeah, and the adjuvants, are you aware that they're creating a breakdown of the blood-brain barrier and actually allowing the aluminum and mercury into the brain, which is the spike in Alzheimer's and maybe autism.
Right. Because what happens is that there's a high correlation between more inflammation in the brain and an increased production of amyloid plaque, beta plaque. See, what happens is that some of these, so and not only that, it also there are little cells, parasite. They're called pericytes, and pericytes are around the small blood vessels that are in the brain, and if they get infected, there's a mechanism through increased inflammation in ROS. What happens is that there's a feedback loop, and these pericytes around the blood vessels start to tighten and they ossify. They die, and what happens is that it starts to constrict the blood vessel, and you start becoming ischemic. That the blood flow isn't very good, and then you have that chronically, and what will happen is you'll start to have brain tissue dying out. Yeah, so this accelerates, like an Alzheimer-esque syndrome.
Yeah. So what
dementia will start to increase.
We're uncovering with the COVID phenomenon here and the vaccine agenda is that big pharma is using big ag to get people sick so that they can have the cure, quote unquote. It's not a cure. There is no cures in hospitals. There are simply remedies to your symptoms. So they keep you alive a long time so you can feed them money while you eat the nutrient deficient food. And then the whole introduction of glyphosate in 1991 caused a spike in celiac disease, which created a whole new industry of gluten-free products. Most of the globalist millionaires are involved in the gluten-free movement. And also with the COVID-19 movement here, most of the globalist millionaires like Al Gore pushing climate change, he is one of the top people in Beyond Meat, which is lab-grown garbage food, genetically modified fake meat, which is now completely going to save the world after they culled all these animals. They're actually using this as a marketing campaign for fake meat, because we're going to need fake meat over the next several months when we have this lull in meat actually getting to the markets. It's totally disgusting. Fake meat gets sold for a penny on a pound here because nobody buys it. It has a huge section. Everyone looks at it. The packages like inflate after a week, and then they throw it away where it should be, in the trash. Right.
Well, what I've been learning in medical school is that we have these cadherins and desosomes. So what they are they're the linking for cells, especially in the gut. So what will happen is that you start to get that inflammation. You'll have this disruption between cells, and the cadherins won't connect very well, and the desosomes are kind of like a spot weld between cells. So when that doesn't work very well, what happens, you'll get that leaky gut syndrome that will cause, especially for children, they'll eat something, it gets into their bloodstream, your body thinks it's a foreign body, it starts to create an antibody for it, and then they start to get some sort of allergy.
An excellent researcher friend of mine.
This crap that they're eating. Yeah, go ahead.
An excellent researcher friend of mine, Jeffrey Smith, uncovered the bowel perforations back in 2011. There were peer-reviewed papers that proved that this was actually happening. There are microscopic perforations in the bowel, and then you get leaky gut. And it actually is a form of microsepsis in the body, where you're actually putting poop into the inner gut around your organs. What could go wrong with that? What could go wrong?
You got it. So what happens is it starts at a very cellular level with the cadherin, and it starts to tear, and then when it starts to get into interstitial tissue, then it starts to inflame, and then your macrophages and all your immune system starts to get activated, and what will happen is it'll flare up, and it'll get worse and worse, and more of that tissue will start to get diseased, to the point where you'll actually now have, large debris of feces getting into your bloodstream. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so
it starts with that micro tearing.
And a lot of the holistic nutritional doctors in the last decade have absolutely been successfully treating these types of patients with microperforations or bowel issues, celiac disease, etc., by simply changing the diet to whole foods, organically grown, locally sourced. So if you change your diet within a year or two, almost all of the symptoms go away, you re-heal, and that's something that Leah and I had known about. We came out here to basically experiment with a style of life that we thought could change our world. And we've been out here for 5 years eating nutrient-dense foods that we grow, our own eggs, our own meat, our own vegetables. We haven't been sick since we left Philadelphia. We haven't been sick. Even the last 3 years we were in Philly, we weren't sick because we were eating such nutrient-rich diets. We now have protocols of extra supplements and other vitamins, and every American can do this. You don't need an exorbitant amount of money, but what you do need to do is focus. Your most important thing is what you put in your body. And I believe that you are what you eat, and that's true. And that what we've been eating in the world is not food, even if it looks like food. This is coming from a corporation, and it is typically processed. Even carrots are processed. They look like they're carrots in a bag, but they've been washed, soaked, nuked, irradiated, re-soaked, retreated, and bagged. And it's coming to you fresh. No, it isn't. Fresh is a carrot that comes out of the ground, covered in dirt, that you didn't spray anything on, that you can eat that second. That's fresh. And if you don't, go ahead.
A fresh carrot. A fresh carrot smells so much, just more
carroty.
Just the smell of that, the carroty, right? And then in the store, I mean, you can tell that it was it's somewhat processed.
They wash it. They wash all organic fruit.
Because I remember
traditional fruit in ammonia. It's an ammonia wash to do the final kill of all bacteria on the surface before they bag it. And it's legal because most of it outgasses before the consumer gets it. But it's not healthy.
Yeah. I forgot the compound that gives it the carrot smell. We studied it in organic chemistry for pre-med. I forgot the name of it. But it's an arrow. No, I don't think so. No,
the terpene. I don't think so.
I don't think that's the smell. I don't think it's giving it the smell. I think it's maybe. I would have to look it up, but I thought it was an aromatic, and that was it had an aromatic molecular structure.
I love the aromatics. All right, Paul,
I can't remember the name of it.
Do you have anything else pressing that we need to discuss tonight?
Well, I mean, I really need people's help. I mean, I put a lot of effort in trying to inform the best that I can what is going on with this crisis and how to help people. From day one, I said that I'm trying to help people. And, I need people's help to try to go to a backup channel, because I don't believe my main channel is going to be around for much longer, especially after I interview Mikovitz. So, I really would appreciate if people could go to Dr. Paul Cottrell instead of just Paul Cottrell. So it's Dr. and then my name. That's my backup channel. Every video I have has a link to the backup channel. If they could go there and subscribe, I'm going to start publishing on that. I have a lot of videos already, but I don't publish every day on the backup channel. But I'm going to be starting to publish every day on the backup channel. And that's going to be the major conduit that I'm going to be publishing going forward, because I don't have faith in the larger channel lasting much longer. And, this is a team effort. I mean, Diamond, you've helped a lot, and others have helped a lot too. And, I'm very grateful for everyone's contribution in this crisis and trying to help people. There are powers that be that are trying to prevent us from growing our channels and getting the word out. I mean, you've noticed that we started with Wuhan. Then we started with how are we going to go into shelter in place, and how the numbers didn't make sense at the CDC, and some of the biology that was going on with the virus, and what, sort of medication would work and what sort of medication wouldn't work, and a little bit about the, the vaccine program. And now we're getting into, Fauci and the weapons program that was going on at Fort Detrick. And these powers don't want us to be stating the things that we've been stating, especially when we start moving into the phase where it's instituting policies that I was talking about early on, which is related to the BioPatriot Act. So I need people's help. I've been quote on the battlefield every day since January 25th. And sometimes I look like a mess, and sometimes I brush my hair. But but the thing is I've been on the battlefield every damn day, and I need people's help. And I've been there for people, and I truly, really do need people's help to try to build up that backup channel.
All right, so
I can continue the fight.
Yeah, if you're at Paul Cottrell's original channel, it's hard to find his other channel unless you know how to look in the description box and find it. That way, I'm going to have Dr. Paul Cottrell's alternative channel as the first link in the description. I'm going to put it in the first comment, and I'll pin that. And I'll even throw it up in the live chat when we premiere this in about an hour. So that'll all happen. So go over to see Dr. Paul Cottrell, subscribe to his channel, watch some of his content, so he can get those extra 35,000 views he needs to monetize the channel. Additionally, I just want to reiterate what we talked about tonight. If you live in California and you're on medical assistance, which I have been for up to 3 years, and many people are, the majority of people are poor, low income. If you do not get tested for COVID-19 by June 1st, that's crazy. That's 17 days. Like, how can millions of people get tested in 17 days? First of all, that doesn't make sense. There's probably 5 million people on assistance in California. I mean, that's what I would think. And they probably haven't even tested that many people in the state. So in 14 days, they have to test all those millions of people. And if you're positive, they're taking your children. So let's say this is as prevalent as we think it is, Paul. And they test 1 million people, and 175,000 mothers come up positive. And amongst those 175,000 mothers, they have 380,000 children. How are they going to put them in foster care? This is the most ridiculous, unthought out, unplanned, unconstitutional, egregious nonsense. And if they're not, well, I can't say that, but they should burn down the state of California in response to this. But I guarantee that the newspapers are not going to.
But it's already burnt down.
Yeah, it's already burnt down. But the newspapers aren't going to be telling all the mothers on welfare that they're about to take their children. And do you think they all got this letter? I mean, what are those people thinking right now? Jesus.
We're going down dangerous territory, and more people are going to start seeing these types of letters. Now the question is what are we going to do? Are we going to stand up and protect our civil liberties? Because they're as other people have stated on different YouTube channels, they use the phrase they're setting up for the kill shot. I think that's right. They're setting us up for that kill shot.
Well, it's not going to work out.
What are we going to do about it?
It's not going to work out very well. I watched a viral video today. There were two dudes in LA or California or something in a Target. And they had been mandated since mid-April to wear masks in any public place. And so these two guys, they're like in their 20s, are just going through Target, like walking down an aisle. And it's a viral video that's coming from the cam above, from the Target cam, the security cam. And you could see three of these Target employees move up on these two kids, almost like Gestapo, like police. And they literally, if they're worried about them not wearing masks, they literally get within 6 inches of their face. They get right in their face. They're clearly not worried about catching the virus at this point. It's just like you give a bunch of 20-year-old thugs that are underpaid employees the power to start to police, and this is the event. Now, the one kid that was unmasked punched the one worker in the face and broke his arm because the kid was telling him, "You got to wear a mask." I mean, kudos to the guy who punched him in the face, because I would have done the same thing. There is no law that says I have to wear a mask in my state. Therefore, I will never wear a mask in my state. I want COVID-19. I probably already have it. I need to be exposed to viruses and bacteria every day to keep my immune system healthy and operating. And this is what the CDC is not telling you. They're telling you to shelter in place, get sicker, stay out of the sun, do not get your immune system in check, and kill yourself, or we'll take your kids. This is disgusting. And I think that over the period of the next few months, we are going to hit a huge amount of the population. We're talking 10, 20% that are going to be fed up with this. And 20% of just under 400 million is a lot of people, Paul.
But are we going to see that, those days back, when the Occupy movement for Wall Street happened? I don't know. I don't know. Is there enough anger? There's more reason. There's more reason to be out on the streets now than back then.
And back during Occupy, it was much different. It was less than 1% of the population that even knew what that was. Over 10% of the population now knows what's happening as far as forced vaccinations coming. And we have a larger group of people that are concerned. And once those people are convinced in a month or two after cities have already reopened and there's no more body count and the hospitals still aren't overrun in 98% of all the hospitals, as if still today, 95% of the hospitals are about to go bankrupt because there's no patients inside in the U.S. That's the state of affair. And if we continue the lockdowns for a month or two, we're going to see 10, 20% of those new hospitals go bankrupt. And then there are going to be people in rural areas that have no hospital for hours. People are going to be very angry. And they're going to realize that the government did that to them. And I think it's going to be very ripe. Midsummer, let's say the 4th of July is our Independence Day.
I hope so, man. I hope so. But think about this. They kill off those insurance companies that own those hospitals, and they'll roll in Obamacare, 3.0. you'll have a government-run, literally a government-run healthcare system. Right now, we have a semi-government-run healthcare system. You'll have a 100% run healthcare system.
Yeah, but
See, it's almost like they're trying to kill off the private part.
It will be an inadequate hospital system. I've been in countries like Spain that have a government-run hospital system. There's hospitals in every corner. You just walk in, you get free knee surgery, and you leave with a bottle of vodka and a bouquet of flowers. There's no bill. I had the best service ever in southern Spain when I popped my knee. They don't even care who you are. They said, "Do you know how much we're going to bill for this? It's awesome. Go home." And so the only problem is that we don't know how to do we don't know how to do a government-run healthcare system that is effective and efficient and cares about people. We don't know how to do that because we don't know how to care about people. Our healthcare system right now is built based on the insurance industry, which places profit over people. In a government-run healthcare system, like in Spain, when you come in, they care about you because they don't care about how much money it costs to fix you. They just bill the government, and they know they'll get paid. And that's the beauty of that system, because they've been using it for decades and it works. We don't know how to do that. We've based our capitalistic system of healthcare on profit. So we don't care about the patient. We care about the bottom line. How much money are we making? Who cares if these people are well?
Right. Good point. Good points. But I appreciate you having me on, Diamond. I really do. It means a lot.
What do we have to look forward to in your Mikovitz interview? And will you ask the hard questions? Because when I have her on the show, if I ever get her on the show, I'm going to ask her to explain herself about all the reported claims that defame her, like what actually happened. And they did that in this documentary that's been blocked. So ask her to re-explain what happened on the jailing and all that nonsense. Ask her about the stolen work that Fauci stole. And I understand, like, she has a best-selling book already. There's no reason to put herself out in the public like this doing these documentaries, because she's just going to, I mean, the amount of stress that I have, I can only imagine Dr. Mikovitz, the death threats, etc. When I started the channel, I've gotten hundreds of death threats over the years. I actually had someone come out here try to kill me. And so I can only imagine the fear that she has. So just ask the hard questions. Don't be a patsy, and do it for the team.
I will.
because they will take you down, but we do have your back. Go over and just subscribe to Dr. Paul Cottrell, the new channel. We're going to get Dr. Paul to put up a third channel tonight, just in case, and he'll call it Happy Puppies and Pandemics or something. We don't know yet, but thank you, Paul, for bringing
actually, my third channel, my third channel is called Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I
have a channel called Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, great. Send me that link and we'll get people to subscribe to that as well. Because what we're seeing here, May 6th, is the beginning of the end of your freedom. All of your freedoms are ending this summer, the summer of bummer, unless on the 4th of July, we as Americans take back our freedoms, and it's a new Independence Day. Not from aliens, but from assholes. Paul, always a pleasure. We love to have you on. Be safe.
Thank you very much, Diamond. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That's a boom.